This is a Baldwin Discoverer, the DS-50. These were made in the mid-late 70s. The Discoverer series, they had others into the 80s. It's all metal construction, except for the side plates are like a molded plastic. Now these are very cool little, I guess you'd call them a synthesizer. These had an amazing amount of features for the time that they came out. For, you know, they weren't a entry level, but they weren't a professional, so they were kind of mid-grade, we'll say. You have very nice, the keys are very heavy, so it doesn't feel like your modern, you know, you go buy a Casio keyboard or even a cheaper Yamaha, there's no weight to the keys. The keys are actually nicely weighted. Now there's no actual like just piano sound. You know, Baldwin's obviously famous for its organs. So your sounds you have is flute 8, flute 4, oboe, and violin. And then your vibrato effect. So all the controls on here, all your slider controls, are opposite of what you'd think. All the way up is actually off. So if I push all these all the way up, it's nothing. Your master volume's up here, along with your sustain control. So now if you go down, that's your violin at full, and you can blend these anyway. The flute 4 is much higher pitch than the flute 8. And oboe. And you can combine any two. So if you go violin and flute 4 are kind of your two higher pitched. And you know, you do both violins all the way, and it gets it more of that kind of church organ kind of sound. Your vibrato. Gives it that kind of, I always think of like 60s suspense and horror movies when I hear that tone. This side has your one key chords. You also have your main Soundbank, which controls your dominant tones, but then you can also mix that with like harpsichord. So if you want even the vibrato. Marimba. Sounds more like a modern cell phone ringtone than anything. I don't know why they always put that on keyboards. To me, it's just kind of annoying unless you're just strictly doing like sound effects. The vibes actually sounds, and I got the vibrato all the way off, but it basically just sounds like if you just had, I think it was the flute 8 with vibrato. It's just a little deeper, but like I said, you can mix all those tones, and of course, like I said, you have a sustain knob that can make your vibrato sound a little different. It does have a built-in drum machine with kind of your standard beats, March, waltz, swing. This one does have ballad rock, disco rock, bossa nova, rumba, and samba. Here's a start and stop. And you can also put it on touch control, so when you hit one of the chords over here, it'll start up automatically. This is your volume control for it, so you can blend it, whether you want it to dominate over the keys, and then of course tempo. That's your country waltz or your country march, waltz, swing, ballad rock, then you can go heavy metal with it, get a little thrash sound in it, disco, bossa nova, rumba, it's making my snare on my drum set rattle. So if you hear a little snare mixed in, it's it's not on this, it's a real snare. Then you do have some accompaniment functions, I guess, with stuff you can plug in. We'll show you the jacks in the back in a second. This is obviously pre-MIDI, so it has analog outs. So you can mix this if you have a home recorder, home studio. If you want to run it through like a bass amp, if you're playing where you need some more volume, it's got that function. Also on your chords, you got 7th and minor, so you can change. All right, hold on here. Oh, there. And you hear the change when I hit 7 or hit the minor, and if I hit 7th, let's turn the volume up. So it gives it a different accompaniment, we'll say. But yeah, great synthesizer to have in your collection if you like the old vintage stuff. These run right around $300, $250 to $300 in this condition. This does have the original case with it. This, I'm missing the little wire music stand that would slide in there. If you do go shopping for these, a big thing too, make sure you get the power cord. It's not like a modern keyboard where you can easily find a power cord. These ones are kind of more square shaped. So, I mean, if you find one cheap enough, it's not an issue, but don't pay top dollar unless you're getting that power cord. There's a DS-50 made in Japan. There's the power cord I was kind of talking about. And they are still, you can still find them, so don't discourage that from completely not buying one. But they're just, know that they're harder to find than a newer one. You got your mic in, RCA jacks in and out, a 4-ohm speaker, so you can actually just run a, you know, it'd be a small speaker, as like a monitor or whatever, and then your headphone jack. But the Discoverer series that they made in the 80s was not this quality, because then they started getting into the black plastic, obviously more digital. Something to keep your eyes open for. Discoverer DS-50 from the mid 70s, and I think they stopped about 78 making these.